guys, so welcome to the next episode of Getting Reefed with Mike and Mike. Now Mike's still setting up his saltwater tank and he's still got loads of questions to ask. So hopefully these questions will help you as well, whether you're looking at starting up your first saltwater tank or you've already got one going, but you've still got questions that you want answered. Excuse the cloudiness of my tank. I've just fed my corals. It's daytime at the moment and I don't normally do my videos during the day. I normally do them in the evening, but I'm doing this one during the day, so this is when I do all my feeding and things like that. Currently giving them a bit of reef paste. They love it. They absolutely love it. So let's go over to Mike and start off with the questions and let's see what he's got to ask.
Now, as you can see behind me, from the first episode, I've got my first 10-gallon saltwater tank up and running. And I've got 2 clownfish and a fire shrimp in the tank. But I still have a lot of questions to ask. And who better to ask than the master of saltwater reef tanks, Michael from Aaron's Aquariums. So, my first question is, I know that the water evaporates just like any tank does. Now, when the water evaporates, does the salinity increase, and do I top off with RO water, salt water, or can I use tap water?
Yeah, Mike. So what happens when water evaporates from your tank? It changes your salinity. Depending on how much is evaporated, will depend on how much it will change your salinity. But realistically, any water that you lose, you want to be putting back so that it keeps the salinity at the same level all the time. What happens is when the water leaves your tank, the water goes but the salt stays. So then that ups the amount of salt in comparison to water, if you know what I mean, because you've got less water. So what you do with that is you'll top up with fresh RODI water, not tap water. Tap water's got too many little bits in it that really will not agree with your reef tank. So never use tap water. Use nice RODI water, or depending on where you're from and what the TDS of your water is, sometimes you can get away with just DI or just RO. You don't have to use RO and DI, but that's for another video. So yeah, so what you want to do is top it back up with RO water, fresh water, no salt in it at all, because you haven't lost any salt from your tank, you've only lost water. When you do a water change, obviously when you do a water change, you take salt and water out of the tank. So when you do a water change, you have to add salted water, which is the same salinity as what your tank is at the moment. So answer to your question is, yeah, you're going to have to top up with fresh water, not salt water, and definitely not tap water.
So my next question is I'm going to turn this all fish saltwater tank into a reef tank eventually, and I have no clue about corals. Now I've done my research, and can you do a quick explanation of the soft corals, the LPS corals, and the SPS corals, and what would be good for the beginner to put in their saltwater tank?
So I'll try my best to explain softies, LPS and SPS as fast as I can. Soft corals. Just on the screen here now you can see a picture of a toadstool coral. This is classed as a soft coral. Reason being is it doesn't have a stone base to it. Nothing on it is stone. It's just a soft tissue like coral. When you see it, it's normally attached itself to a rock. It normally sticks its base to a rock. That rock it hasn't created, it's just stuck itself to it. So that's a soft coral. An LPS coral, like this one, which is a torch coral, as you can see on the torch coral, it's got long tentacles on it, or polyps, and just below it is like a stone base. Now this stone base, it's grown itself, it's actually part of it. It's not stuck itself to a rock or anything like that, it's actually created this. LPS stands for long or large polyp stony. The polyps, the tentacles, that the large part, and obviously the stony is the stone base. So that, as quickly as I can, is an LPS. An SPS, like this, what looks like a green spike, or green blobby spike, is like a cluster of SPS. This is predominantly stone. So SPS means small polyped stony. Because unlike the torch coral, as you can see in this photo, if you just have a look at the little circles, that's the polyps of an SPS. So like I said, unlike the torch coral, which has long finger-like corals, like this coral here and the coral over there, them two there, they're LPS because they have long, flowy polyps with a stony base. So, like on this picture that you can see here, it has very small, round polyps. So, SPS is small polyped stony. We'll go into Softies, LPS and SPS properly in its own video, so we've got more time to explain it. But for now, for a beginner, the best corals to go for is Softies. Soft corals are the best corals to go for because they don't normally require much care. Most of them are filter feeders, so they can just feed off what's flowing through your tank, and they also, some of them photosynthesize, so some of them you don't have to feed at all. So Softies are the best ones to go for, and you can get away with some LPS as well as a beginner.
Another question I have is I've been reading and doing a lot of research. Now, I know now from my research that in salt water, go big or go home. Bigger is better. Now, what I could afford right now is a 10-gallon tank, but I know the parameters can swing very quickly. How often do you recommend I do a water change on a 10-gallon tank?
So on a 10-gallon, I'd probably suggest doing a water change weekly. Now normally with reef tanks, I normally do mine every 2 weeks, but obviously mine's 200 gallons. So I normally do mine every 2 weeks, and most people normally do them every 2 weeks. Obviously if you've got a refusion fitted and things like that, that'll give you a lot more time between water changes, but obviously you haven't. So on a 10-gallon, what I'd say is I'd do 10 to 20% of your water every week where possible, or more if you can afford to. So there you go guys, that's this episode of Getting Reefed with Mike and Mike done. Now I hope these questions and answers have helped you out. If you've got any questions that you'd like to ask yourself, or you'd like to ask Mike to ask on your behalf, stick them in the comment section below and we'll possibly add them to the next video, or we'll just answer them for you in the comment section. Don't forget to check out these guys all around us. We've got Paul Madfish, we've got the Angry Fishman, and we've got Maurice McCormick, and obviously we've got Mike from Mass. Go check out their channels and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And also as well, just below, just the video playing below, that was the previous Getting Reefed with Mike and Mike. Click on that and that'll take you over to that video just in case you've missed it. Alright guys, it's been a pleasure as always, and I'll catch you later.